What up, y'all? You guys ready to get this thing started? Man, I've been waiting all year to do this. All year. How many people in here over the course of the last 20 years have watched me or seen me teach an 8x8 and 36 touch class? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 12 of you guys. Great. And of the 12 that are there, how many of you guys right now are currently running an effective 36 touch plan for your HAVMET database? Perfect. Yeah, man, that's the story. That is the story of how we got here. You know, it's interesting, and I'll give you the backstory. Come up, Sam. Your partner's right up here. Betty Joe, wave to your boyfriend. Tall, handsome, looking good in pink, the new black. I like your style, buddy. That's the story of how we got here, is all these years I've been teaching this thing called an 8x8 36 touch, and I used to start out with the class with, all y'all in here, you know, want to do what it is that I'm doing and want to grow that big ass business, right? And so I'm going to teach you exactly what it is that I did to make it happen. And you know what? None of y'all are going to do it. Anybody heard me say that? Okay. Because there was a point in time where, like, I'm not going to teach the class anymore because this is like stupid, you know. I'm going to teach this thing and everybody's going to go, okay, I got it, and then they don't do it, you know. But I have grown up and gotten a little bit wiser and decided to do something a little bit different this time, and that is, you guys, I'm going to teach the class, and then for the rest of the year, I'm going to do all this with you. 100% of this with you. I'm going to be doing it myself, and so I'm just going to take you along on the journey. We're going to do it with you. It's kind of a big deal. All of you guys who are in this room are here because you're career real estate agents, right? And you are also looking, after 3-4 years now, well, housing's been in recession since 2022, but it's been a little wacky before that too. But all of you are here because you're looking to have certainty in your business, right? And that's the one thing that, you know, the market dynamics have really changed for us. Prior to market dynamics changing, you had the way that people lead generate changing. All of a sudden now you're starting to spend a bunch of money on these third-party companies like Zillow, Realtor.com, et cetera. And I'm not saying anything bad about them because there are a lot of people that I know that do that. But the people that I coach across the country have a database-driven business. That means their number one pillar for their business is their database. I built the Stern team off of the database. I built the Utah Roost off of building a database, all right? All of my coaching clients that I coach are all the top agents in their metropolitan area. All of them are running exactly the same thing that we're gonna talk about today, all right? So the difference is, normally I teach this class, do a little bit of a mic drop, and say, peace out. Not this year. This year, I'm gonna commit to every single one of you that I'm gonna do all of this with you. So there will not be any reason for you not to be able to build this as a system to get, at the very least, a 10-to-1 rate of return out of your database. We'll talk a little bit more of that. But what that means is for every 10 people that you have in your database, you're gonna have one transaction. That transaction will be either a direct transaction or a referred transaction. You might do better than that, but I can promise you, if you do it this way, you can count on having a 10-to-1 rate of return on your database over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. You'll see how this works and aggregates. And the entire time, I'm gonna be here with you. The staff's gonna be here with you to make sure that you have the technology in place to actually deliver the content that we're gonna create. So without further ado, that's how we got here. Now let's get going, shall we? All right, so what we're gonna talk about today is the lead generation model that is taught right here in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, pages 133 to 148. All right, specifically, we're gonna be focusing on the HAVMET lead generation model. This first graph that you see up here is talking about mind share. We took that straight from the book, all right? Because what you have to understand in real estate is the reason why people use you is because you're top of mind. It's mind share. It's not gimmicky, you guys. It's not a gimmick. Okay, we're not sending out mail that says, hey, I'll buy your house for whatever, okay? We are building relationships and retaining mind share. And so it shows that human beings only have a certain capacity for remembering any particular service provider or product. The thing is NAR did research, and they still do this. This is all available to you guys on the NAR website, right? And that is how many people got interviewed before they selected their agent. And it's still primarily one agent being interviewed for the job. All right. Sometimes it's two, and very rarely will it be more than that. And so what that means is you need to be either number one or number two in a consumer's mind for them to use you, right? So I always like to use this analogy. All right, Mike, when you think of soft drinks, who do you think of?
Oh, you mean soft drinks?
Soft drinks. Who do you think of, man? Who do you think of when you think of? I'm changing. Hilly, when you think of soft drinks, who do you think of? You're out. Diet Coke, and it's hard to get farther than two, generally. So if you think of the manufacturers, you know, who makes Dr. Pepper? Coca-Cola, right? So most people, when I ask that question, they respond by Coke, and then what's the next one? I'm surprised they're still there, but yes, Pepsi. And then what's the next one? But that's, yeah. So what I'm saying is we have a problem going farther than that. Now, Mike, I'm going to come back to you, Jerky. We're not talking Coors. All right. When you think of shoes, you know, what are the popular brands that first come to mind? What's the first one? Okay. What's the next one? And what's the next one? And what? You fucking with me? All right. Basically, Mike is fired. But what I'm trying to get at here is you guys are all, you're already picking up what I'm saying, right? And that is there's going to be one, maybe two things that you think of, and beyond that, you start going, That's the mind share game, all right? It is our job to be top of mind with our database, the people that we meet, okay? And that's what we're gonna be talking about today. And I hate to do this to you guys, but I have to do this on my computer and hold a microphone at the same time as I'm gonna be teaching and drawing up on the board because our little mic thing broke. So that's okay, man. This is recorded for those people who weren't lucky enough to be here. So if we look at kind of our three key areas of the database, you have sort of the general public out here. All right. The next circle in is more of a targeted group of have-not-mets. These are people you still don't know. They don't know you, right? And a lot of people will go out and they develop a farm, right? And inside of a farm, you have a targeted group that you're looking to meet. All right. It could be a demographic thing. I know there are a lot of people in this office that work in the luxury realm, luxury real estate. So part of that might be a demographic, high income earners that are in the Salt Lake area, right? But then inside of that, you have the most important group, and that is your MET group. And the MET group is who we're going to spend our time focusing on today. Inside of this MET group, you have another group called your Allied Resource. And I like to think of Allied Resources. If I had a big database of, say, 500 people, I probably have 50 people that are in that database that I would consider an Allied Resource. The Allied Resource are basically people that are going to throw other people down to the ground and tell them who they're going to use as a real estate agent. All right, they're the people that are calling you saying, hey, just talk to my friend, blah, blah, blah. Here's her number. Give her a call. She's expecting you. These are people that are referring deals to you every single year, sometimes multiple times a year. So that's an Allied Resource, okay? The strategy really is always going out to your general public and moving in from there. And that's where we're going to focus our efforts today, all right? Normally when I'm teaching this class, I'm not teaching this part of it, but I wanted to get you guys in the mindset of how all of this comes together so you have a better understanding of what happens when we turn somebody from a have-not-met into a have-met. So one thing I'm going to talk about real quick, this is you've got prospecting type of marketing, right? And then you've got just a straight marketing. Prospecting is what? Voice-to-voice, face-to-face, right? It's not quite as leveraged, but it's a lot more effective than your traditional marketing. Traditional marketing is going to be advertising, right? It could be buying leads from a third-party site. And one of the things that we all want to take note here today is this thing called NTA and TCP compliance, right? The do not call list. And I don't help me out, Blair. The TCPA is Telemarketing Consumer Protection Agency or something like that. Am I right? Something like that. All right. Anyway, Lots of rules here that are changing, lots of people getting turned in for not being TCPA compliant. I'm just gonna use caution for you guys. Make sure that you're finding a way to scrub your list. You do not wanna call people that are on the do not call list, and TCPA had some large changes that were gonna be in effect this year that got put on hold for another year, but do your own research on this. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself in a big heap of trouble. We also have these things called third-party lead aggregators, like your Realtor.com, Homes.com, Pillow. Did I call it Pillow? Rhymes with pillow. But you also have things like Google that have come around, you know, Google My Business, right? We do a class in here recurring that Audrey teaches all on to Google My Business. I do the masterminding around the Google My Business because it's such an important part. YouTube has also turned out to be a big lead generator for the people who have learned how to be effective with it here at Keller Williams. So anything else? Is there any other marketing that I missed in here, you guys? Any other marketing? Great. I hit them all somehow, magically, all right? Not super important anyway to our dialogue. I just want you guys to understand this is how we meet people, all right? Now, the goal of this system, the end goal of this system is that you guys are educating, asking for help, and then rewarding those people who give you help, okay? Number one, educate. What's our job in real estate? That's right. It is to be the local economist. How many of you guys are studying the local economy? Most of you, I would say, all right? So we look at absorption rates, average time on market, you know, absorption rates in different price ranges, absorption reports for different property types, right? These are all local economic, you know, data that our clients will want to have from us, because if we're not being the local economist, where do our clients go and get information? Where? Yeah, all of the big news outlets, and the big news outlets are a for-profit industry, right? So they're selling sound bites in order to collect advertisement revenue, and that's what your folks are reading, all right? That's why it's important for us to be educating. So every time that we're on a call with people, our job is to make sure we educate. All of the touches that I am going to produce for you guys in this room are all going to be economist-based touches, because your job, again, as it says in the book, as Gary Keller has said at least 100 times in my room, in the top agents in the country, he's always saying the same thing: be the local economist. All right, the second part is, you know, once you've created a real connection with your database, then you have earned the right to ask for help. And I like to add one thing on this ask for help. At some point in time, Lee Stern taught me this, you have to teach people how to help you, right? Because it used to be, yeah, I gave them your business card. You know, I was like, oh, thanks very much for doing that. You know, there's a 1 in 10,000 chance they're actually gonna call me. How about this? How about when you run into somebody, Jocelyn, you call me or email me or text me their contact information, so there's a 100% chance I can help them with their moving goals, right? And that's what we begin to do over time. Is you ask for the help. Who do you know who's thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate? And then after that, you're going to then teach them how to do it. Now, if you have a real connection with your database, which is the most important thing that you all can do in here, and that's why we're even doing this class together, then you've earned the right to ask and then teach over time. The end result of that is quite simple. I still have people calling to refer people to me to this day, after years of putting this system in play. I sold the Stern team in 2021. You know, I was out of production in 2016. You guys, that's almost a decade where people are still calling and giving referrals to me. All right, that's how effective this is. And then finally, to put a bow on this, you got to reward the referral source, right? You don't reward the end result of a referral. You must have a system in place for rewarding the behavior of referring. All right, this is all simple stuff. You guys are career real estate agents. It's just a matter of making sure that you're recapping, understanding in your mind, how does this work? All right, all right. Oh, that was that slide. See, I told you this would happen. That's what I was talking about. All right. That's all right. You guys will be patient with me. This is just kind of another overview. This is taken straight from the Red Book, right? So this is just another overview of how this works. You know, it's establishing a database of your allied resources, getting a list. After you have that, it's about maintaining systematic contact with that list. And you can notice over here, they're talking about direct mail, newsletters, dial, drop by, lunch, throw party, etc. Did you notice there is nothing in there about email? Nothing in there about email. I am not a fan of email stay-in-touch systems, okay? And I can tell you the truth about them is they simply do not work, okay? How many email newsletters do you guys receive on a daily or a weekly basis? Okay, like it's enormous, isn't it? I mean, yeah, I mean, a lot of people set up these, you know, faux emails just so they can get whatever it is that they want, knowing that they're going to receive stuff they didn't, okay? Emails are not effective. It was interesting because when I was putting this together as a presentation, because normally I just come in here and I teach you what you need to know, in the book, which was written in what, 2002? It says emails aren't considered effective ways of communicating. So in 2002, they were already saying, don't email. How many of you guys have a 36 touch system that is primarily email based? Okay. And what's your rate of return on that? It's non-existent, you know? And so what we're gonna be doing together is not emails, all right? That's not what we're gonna be doing. So I just want you to know that. All right, systematic follow-up. You wanna do, something that Lee does really great is handwritten notes, items of value, all right? We'll talk more about how I systematize that because ultimately I want you to be doing exactly the same thing. All right, and then the goal is to provide exceptional customer service. I mean, most of you guys in here are going to be those people. You're already career real estate agents, all right? So you're gonna provide exceptional customer service. That doesn't change. People expect it, by the way, right? You gotta care and you gotta communicate. And here's the one caveat I'm gonna give you in terms of creating that good experience. Information will be delivered through text messages or email. Communication is done face-to-face or voice-to-voice, all right? So communication is not email. I just want to make sure that we're clear about that because what ends up happening in our industry is we sort of rely on just sending out an email and they'll get it and that's that and we move on. If you send out an email and it contains anything that's important, what's the next thing that you should do, Lee Stern? Phone call. Excellent. So you're going to follow up every email with a phone call. That is excellent. And there's one more thing I want to make sure that you guys understand about excellent communication, and this is also pertaining to customer service. When you take a listing or when you sign a new buyer, you must communicate with them early and often, all right? Early and often. So have some sort of system that's in place that ensures that you have touch points that are voice to voice. Remember, when I talk about communication, I am not talking about emails. I'm talking about phone calls or face-to-face. Make sure you have a system that's in place that communicates very early in that transactional process to ensure that your clients are getting the exceptional service that they deserve. And then, of course, you know, we do this here for you guys. We have an events committee. Samantha and Kirsten both are running that. We have client events that we do for our clients, right? This is a big deal. Our market center puts this together so you all don't have to. I mean, Lee, when we used to have to do this ourselves, it was enormously challenging, was it not? Yeah, it's a huge job, and now all of a sudden we have this market center that's doing this stuff for us, you know, so we can just invite our clients to these client appreciation events, and they show up, and they're like, oh my God, you're a lot more popular than I thought you were, right? Yeah, hundreds of people. It's a good thing. Okay, so the whole point here is that we're going to try to set up a database and then we're going to focus on feeding it, right? People that you have met, so if you look on the right side of that slide, your have met database, they're going to give you repeat business or they're going to give you referral business. That's just a fact. I think there was at one point in time in the Stern team when we had done, this is when I went from 108 transactions to 244 transactions. 84% of those transactions that I had done were referred or were people directly from my database. That's gigantic, all right, that's huge. And so we wanna make sure that we're feeding that database, growing that database, and the way that we do that is by targeting a group of people that we have not yet met. And so if I look up at this graph, again, I'm gonna mess this up, so if I'm talking about something you don't see up on the screen, let me know, because that means I just have too many clickers and an extra microphone. So The have not met database on the right side, the goal is to turn them into a have met, all right? Here's the truth. Your business is your what? Okay, so a handful of people actually get the concept of the bigger your database is, the bigger your business is. The goal is to create a system in which you maintain a relationship so you're top of mind with your people forever. That's building a moat around it. Now, when you create real connections with your database, real connections, all right? So they're not transactional, they're real connections. You're probably gonna see a better than 10-to-1 rate of return. When I first started tracking this, I had a 6-to-1 rate of return year after year after year after year after year. Now, as my business grew, my database grew, and I had to hire more people to come in, I wasn't able to maintain the same level of connection with my database. And so what ended up happening is I went from a 6-to-1 rate of return to a 10-to-1 rate of return to a 15-to-1 to a 20-to-1. And I remember at some point it was close to a 40-to-1 rate of return because I wasn't the one calling all 5,000 people in my database, somebody else was. And so the real connection got lost. But you guys are here because you have the ability to really truly connect with your database, and that's what we're going to talk about. When you do it in a systematized fashion, it means if you're on the road at your kids' soccer games, it's still going to happen. That's the whole point of having a system, right? The system ensures that it's going to run whether you're on the road or whether you're in town. And that is exactly what we look to build with you guys, all right? Moving forward. Real estate is a contact sport. Anybody hear that? To succeed at a high level, you have to commit to making frequent contact with your database. It doesn't necessarily have to be you making phone calls every single, month to everybody that's in your database. But it means that you're going to have a systematic approach to maintaining contact with your database. That's what we're going to focus on. When you market yourself to your audience, it has to be systematized such that your audience is touched numerous times through multiple media methods. Email's not one of them. Everybody who sends anything out by email from here on out, stop it. Just stop it. There's no point in doing it anymore, all right? None at all. Nobody's reading it. You're on junk mail. If you actually did have something important to send out via email, like say you're gonna actually do an event, and you'd like to invite them via email to an event so they can RSVP, they'll never do it. They'll never do it. So then how many people do you have show up to your events? Right, because nobody's gonna actually, how many of you guys buy shit from a email newsletter? None, nobody does, right? But yet somehow, some way, magically, we think sending email is the answer. It's not the answer. And so I'm gonna tell you exactly what we do and exactly how we do it. But I wanna back up just for a minute here because this next system here that we're gonna talk about is the 8x8. More often than not, I have found that this particular system has gotten buried. It's gotten buried. We don't talk about it anymore. The 8x8, simply said, is when we add somebody new to a database, that we have to have a systematic approach to cement the relationship so that when they think of real estate, they think of who? So it's a cementing process. It's a reaffirming that that you're going to be their real estate agent of choice moving forward. It's a combination of 8 touches in 8 weeks. It's phone calls, it's mail, and it's text message. It's a handwritten thank you card. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen that when I add somebody to my database, there are a combination of 8 touches. 2 of those touches on week 4 and week 8, and I'm gonna show you how to do this, but somebody's gonna hold my microphone while I do this. 2 touches, there are phone calls, week 4, week 8. I'm gonna show you how I set this up. There are 2 touches that are newsletters. Now, we're gonna do monthly newsletters together. I'm gonna call them Market Watch newsletters, all right? And I'm gonna create the content for you, and here's the thing I can assure you. It does not matter what's inside of that newsletter. The only thing that matters about that newsletter is it has your brand on it. Because what happens when your clients receive that newsletter in the mail? And in the process of going in the trash, what happened? We're talking about mind share. We're not talking about direct mail for response. You understand? It's very different. Oftentimes I'll come up to the board here and I'll draw something on the board that is a product design. That is this. When you see that on shoes or uniforms, what is that company? That's all it is. It's mind share. So therefore, when I ask Mike, and he's not being facetious, when you think of shoes, who do you think of? The very first one he thinks of is the one that spends the most on marketing for mindshare. So that's the idea, is you don't have to worry about what's going to be in the newsletter. I'm going to make it good. It's all going to be local economist stuff, all right? And it's also going to have a little paragraph that you can choose to write something personal about and do it if you want to. But in the end, I'm going to tell you, and the truth is, it doesn't matter what's in there. It does not matter. The only thing that matters is your brand and it going out. So we're already going to be creating monthly newsletters together. I'll explain to you when we're going to be doing that, okay? But because you're already going to have the monthly newsletters, you can simply have 2 of those touches be newsletters that go out to your new have met, all right? So if I met somebody at an open house, I get NAPE. NAPE is an acronym, stands for name, address, phone number, email. I get permission to stay in touch. Very simple. How many people can you add to your database in a week? Mike, you've done a great job over the last 2-3 weeks. How many people have you added to your database in the last 2 or 3 weeks? Over 60 new have met. Your business is your database. Our job is to systematically communicate with that database, but we want to feed it. So here's Mike over just the last few weeks adding an extra 4 transactions to his business. I think average commission is about $15,000 per transaction for most agents. That's $60,000 that he's added to his database over the course of the last 2-3 weeks. Pretty cool. Once you get it, you get it. And all you do is figure out, how do I get more NAPEs or people to put in there so I can get more business in the future? Because now you're going to have a systematic way of keeping in touch with them. And so then the final 4 touches, these are the numbers that matter. Numbers that matter are local, short videos that I'm going to be writing the scripts for you guys, that you guys will do. You can send my bald head out if you want. I wouldn't recommend it. I would send your beautiful faces out. But they're going to be 4 touches that I'm going to do with you, all right, over the course of the 2 months that they're running an 8x8, because an 8x8, again, stands for 8 touches in 8 weeks, all right? Now, if I can get a little bit of help from you, Makai, I just want to demonstrate a little bit on my black box system, because I've got all the materials set up that you guys are going to be able to buy this. But I was running a massively large business using an analog stay in touch system just for my 8x8. Because we tend to overthink this, and we tend to use our CRMs to plug in these 8 touches, and most of it's going to be email. Maybe you have a couple of phone calls in there, but a lot of times those don't actually get made, so it's just mostly email that they send. So will you hold the microphone? Okay, the black box system. This is how we manage our 8x8s. From here on out, all right? Every one of you guys are going to do this with me. Every single one of you. Why? Because it's the only system that actually works. It's proven to work. It works. And inside of this box, we have 12 files. Here, can you Vanna White me here? 12 files, so you can just walk it down the aisle. Just notice, okay? The green one, that's the hanging files. That represents the month of the year, all right? So the very first month you can see, you can show them that for me, is January. Inside of January, there are 4 more folders. 4 more. Go ahead, demonstrate that for them. 4 folders. They are labeled what? Week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. How many weeks do we usually have in a month? 4 weeks. Okay, so I have 12 folders here, 12 hanging folders. And inside of each hanging folder, I have 4 weeks. Thank you for that. Now, how do I do this system if I have somebody that I just met and I'm going to put them on an 8x8? So where are we at today? What is the date? The 12th? All right, 12th of February. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I am going to write a handwritten thank you note. Very simple to do. And I've got the materials for you guys if you want to buy this too. Blank, thank you, all right? So what am I gonna do as soon as I add somebody to my HaveMet database? I'm gonna handwrite a thank you, all right? Here's what I don't do in my thank you cards. You guys do what you want. I'm just gonna tell you what works. I don't put my business card inside of a handwritten thank you note. It's a little tacky nowadays to do that. Now, back in the 70s and 80s, that was the way people did business. Anymore, I just want to simply send out a thank you, right? I'm going to be staying in touch with them, so I don't worry about whether or not they're going to be staying in touch with me. They probably have my number. We probably exchanged information. So I'm not really worried about that. What I am worried about is getting that touched out. So if that's the case, we're already in, I believe, the second week of February, right? And so by the time we get to, let me see if I've got it in here, the first week of March, maybe I don't have it in here. Hold on. Okay, I thought I put them in here. I may have put them in the wrong spot. I would write on a sticky note my 4th week phone call. It would say week 4 phone call, Lee Stern, and her telephone number on it. So when I pull out this file, you know, I pick one day a week. What day would you pick to send out mail or anything? Wednesday. Okay, great. So your day is Wednesday. On Wednesday, you're going to, there it is, it's already in March. And Wednesday, you're going to put a little sticky note in there that says week 4 phone call, Lee Stern. It's an analog system that works. So every Wednesday, everything that's in this file is what I deal with that day. And so if there are phone calls, they're noted in there, right? If that phone call is not made by the end of the day, I'll just take that thing out and I will carry it with me until the phone call gets made. It's a pretty simple system. Now we know that we're going to, let me put this back, hopefully in the right spot. We know that we're going to be sending out the newsletters as well. And so I'll already have the newsletters done. You guys are already going to have these done. These are going to be done for you, right? And you're just going to address it as soon as you put them in your contact management system. You put them into the 8x8. Okay, so you're going to actually address this. And if it's week 3 that you're going to send out the newsletter, just have your newsletter ready, put it in there with their name on it, and then on Wednesday you pick it up and you make sure everything that's in there is sent out. On the 6th week, you're probably going to do the same thing. The 6th week, you're going to have another newsletter that's in there. They're not the same newsletter, but it's already going to be labeled and ready to go. All right? That's how I do the 8x8 manually. So every single person that I add to that, I'll send out a handwritten thank you card. I have my week 4 and week 8 phone calls put on little post-it notes. I have it put on the post-it notes. And so that way, I make the call every Wednesday. When I get into the office, I send everything out or do everything that's sitting in there. Now, the other thing that I use this system for is for home anniversaries, birthdays, or other big events that happen for people. So Lee's home anniversary is August 16th of 1996. Close. All right, good. And so here's what I'm going to do. August 16th, that's probably about the 2nd week of August, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to my August hanging folder in here, and then I'll go to the 2nd week, and I drop that in there. It's already labeled with her information on it, and it's got a sticky that tells me what it is and when the anniversary date actually is. And so that Wednesday, the 2nd Wednesday of August, I'm going to pull up that file, and guess what's sitting in there for me? Your anniversary. And so what I'll do is I'll pull all those cards, and it got to be where I was writing 40, 60, 80 of these things a week, right? Between birthdays, home anniversaries, wedding anniversaries, graduations. By the way, people that are going to have babies and they tell you what the due date is and you throw a congratulations card. I used to carry the card with a stork, you know, just a blank card with a stork on it carrying a little baby. And I would always put that in 2 weeks before the due date so it goes out. And how warm of a touch is that for your clients? Right? So you can use this black box system for a lot of different things. But birthdays, same thing. Lee's birthday is December 16th. I don't have to put the year on birthdays, but I put the date in there, you know, and I put a little sticky on it so I know exactly what it is, right? So when I get to the 2nd week of December, this will be a good reminder. I won't miss your birthday this year. So I put the birthday card that's in there. By the way, you know, in the back of this thing, I also have all of these blank birthday cards, and I'll give you the link to buy them, you know, so you can have them for super cheap and all set up. So every time you add somebody's birthday, you handwrite their address on there. You put a little sticky note on it that tells you when their birthday actually is. And that Wednesday, the second Wednesday of December, I'm going to pull that folder up, and guess what's in there? Lee's birthday card. And you know what I'm going to do? At the same time as I pull Lee's birthday card out, I put another one in there for next year. How many of you guys don't know what the hell to say on somebody's birthday? Happy birthday. Okay, so you know what I started doing that made this fun and interesting for me? Is I would go to like Google search events December 16th. And it would give me famous people that were born on that day. And it would give me like really cool things that happened on that day, this day in history, you know, December 16th, right? Have you guys ever done that, Google search that kind of stuff? Okay, well, I mean, it's just a fun way. Did you know that you were born on the same day as, you know, Michael Jackson? Wow, that's wild. Huh? Oh, Rick too. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's right. real famous. So again, I want to back this up. I really want to make sure that you understand that this is a system that works, okay? I'm going to share with you the links. All of you guys are going to get an email. This is going to be real easy. I'm just going to pull up another screen really quick so I can show you. Oh, no, I can't do it on this one. It's on my computer. I'm going to send you a link that has all the materials that you need to buy to put together a black box system, including thank you cards, including blank birthday cards, right? Including the frickin' postage notes or post-it notes. It's been a while. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure do, and we're going to cover that too. Yeah, we're actually going to cover that in the class. But yes, on the list of things to buy for your black box system are what are called wafer seals. When you're creating a newsletter, you have to tab those newsletters. Anybody receive like a folded newsletter in the mail and it has those little plasticky kind of tabs that are on it? They're called wafer seals, right? They're a whopping $5 for 1,000 of them. So I also have that on the materials list. I'm going to send it out to all of you. You too, Blair. Sending it out to you, buddy. All right? Because that way we can be sure that we're actually sending out mail instead of sending out email, and we're going to actually put together the frickin' mailer for you. We're going to show you how to do all of this. But going back to this 8x8, this is used to cement the relationship. So when you meet somebody new and you get their name, address, phone number, email, you have a way to stay in touch with them. The very next thing that you do when you go into the office is you put together their 8x8 in this black box system. All right, the first touch, you're going to send out a handwritten thank you. You can do that right now. I don't care if it's Friday. I don't care if it's, you know, Monday. I don't care what day that is. But from there on out, your day to pull mail is Wednesday. Your day to send anything out is going to end up being Wednesday. And it's all going to be preloaded in here with all of their information on it so you don't miss it, including the phone calls, which are just done on sticky notes in there so you don't miss the phone call. Now, I'm so excited for you guys to have the same challenge that I had, and that is, eventually, one black box is not enough. And eventually, two black boxes will not be enough. It's a good problem to have. I didn't ever get to 12. Either 3 or 4. My assistant, Mike, who worked with me for a decade, you know, she would be able to remind me of how many of these had. But it got to be to the point where I was probably sending out about 80 handwritten cards a week, you know, in addition to all of the 8x8s that would be running at any given time. It's a great way to organize your 8x8s, right? If I met 4 people at the open house, they're all going to be in the same fashion, right? But if I meet somebody next week, they're going to be in a different kind of sequence, right? But this will run it regardless of when you meet them. And you're just going to pick the one day that you either make the follow-up call or you send out whatever's sitting in here. Just one day. It's not hard. All right. Now, we're going to be doing some videos, right? You guys are going to have access to video. And so video, you're just going to put a reminder, week 3, week 5, week 7, whatever it is, send video to Paul, right? Week 3 touch. Yeah, I know. I need to. I need to. Well, you're going to be in here doing the videos with me. Yeah. Yeah, she's just suggesting you put your email address on there if you actually want to receive the email. Yeah, Andrea, go ahead.
Stupid question, but if there are people in your database that you, I mean, I have you a monthly postcard, but if there are some people in my database from way back who I haven't nurtured a ton, is it ever smart to do this to 8x8 to reestablish a better relationship and then
Okay, yeah, that's a quality question that I've had it dozens and dozens of times, and that is, we've abandoned somebody in our sphere of influence. We haven't maintained a relationship with them. Should I put them on an 8x8 to reinvigorate the relationship? And the answer is no. All right, but it's a good question to ask. What I would prefer is that you use the apology script. So I'm actually gonna be sending out the building of the black box, understanding how that works, what it is that I send. Even it's gonna include a 36 touch, although all of that stuff I'm gonna do with you guys. So you don't need to hold on to that. But at the bottom of that sheet that I'm gonna send out to you is all of the dialogue that I have with my orphaned SOI. My first call to my orphaned SOI, my second call to my orphaned SOI, and by the time I make my third call, I've already now recreated the real connection, okay? And so I'm gonna send that out to you guys so you know exactly what to say to these people, and it is so uncomplicated. And sadly, as systematized as I am, when I grew this thing to where it was a monster, I lost touch with people. And then I'd realize, oh my God, I haven't made that call. I mean, I'd get my CRM would tell me I had like 300 calls to make at a time. I'm like, how am I gonna do this, you know? And so I did unfortunately end up losing contact with some of those people until I started hiring people to help me, you know, make these contacts, right? And I would just use the apology script. All right? And I have a 3-phase apology script. I'm gonna share it with you. Just follow exactly what it says. It's so easy, it's so simple, and somebody else has a question. Let's go to Barb. Barb, for the people at home, could you talk into the microphone? Thank you.
And then when you're done with the apology script, can we start them on the 8x8?
No.
Thank you? No.
No. Good question. Yeah, they're going on a 36 touch. So everybody that is labeled in your sphere of influence in SOI, listen to me, everybody who's in your sphere of influence that would be labeled SOI, whether you've abandoned them or not, okay, they're gonna be on your 36 touch system. That's it. They're not gonna be on an 8x8. 8x8s are used to what? Cement a relationship. They're only for new database additions. They get 8 touches in 8 weeks. This is not for people that you've done business before with 3, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, Zach, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago? Right. Oh, that easy, 30 years ago? Oh, my bad. Right. Well, I know you've been doing this for a while, buddy. But we lose touch with people. We might have sold them a house 10 years ago, right? We're just gonna go back, put them all on the same 36 touch, and when you see their phone call pop up, when you have to make it, and we're gonna teach you how to do this, your first call to them is just the first apology script, which I am gonna share with all of you guys, all right? That's the first one, and they're getting all of the other touches. Do you see? That's how you reestablish the relationship. Now you've got a system, and I promise you the system's gonna stay in touch with them whether you make the phone call or not. But the glue to making the system work, the glue to actually getting a 10-to-1 rate of return is the real connection that you make with these people, right? And so I've got a coaching client who was the #1 real estate agent in Visalia, California, had a 7th level real estate business, which means that business operates basically on its own. In 2020, he called me up and told me he moved to a place called Dana Point and didn't know anybody and asked if I would pick up coaching him, which I agreed to do because he was one of my proteges, right? And the poor guy knew nobody in Dana Point, California. And so we had to have a prospecting-based system in order to create a new database. So over the course of 4 years, he created a new database where he also has an 8x8 and a 36 touch that he runs exactly the same way that I'm gonna teach you guys how to do it. I know because I coached him, and I also receive what in the mail from him every month? His friggin' newsletter, all right? I get his calls, I get his text messages, all right? He's doing exactly what he needs to be doing. In 4 years, in a brand new market where he knew nobody, he just closed over 64 million last year in real estate. 64 million in real estate, right? That's funny. No, it's a hell of a lot more than that. But yes, bottom line is, at some point, you know, you move into a new area. So if I moved into Portland, Oregon, guess what? I'm gonna have a prospecting-based business. I'm gonna door knock, I'm gonna do open houses, I'm gonna circle call people that are TCPA compliant, okay? I'm gonna do those calls. I'm gonna be focused on taking a have not met, moving them into a have met. As soon as I move them into a have met, I have name, address, phone number, email. What do, Mike? Nope. Dragon. Okay. As soon as I move somebody from a have not met and I've got name, address, phone, and email, I put them on what? 8x8. Yep, exactly. Right? And that the reason why I'm emphasizing this 8x8 and showing you how I ran this system is because there is not a single person in this room, not one person in this room that is actually running an 8x8. Not one. So we skip the 8x8, cement the relationship, and we just go into this thing called a 36 touch, which is there to maintain the relationship. The end result of doing that is that it's going to be less effective than having the 8x8 first. All right, so this is why it's so important for us to have this dialogue about the 8x8. Not that I want to pick on anybody, especially Mike, because he actually does know this, you know. But we don't talk about it. What do we always talk about? The 36 touch. That's all we talk about. So we got to go back to what it is that actually works. So if your system isn't working, number one, you're sending emails. It's not going to work. So have a nice day. Enjoy your life. All right. Number two, we have to actually feed them through an 8x8 before they go into the 36 touch, which brings me to my final point of the 8x8. And that is that last phone call that's on a sticky note inside of the folder that says week 8 phone call, Lee Stern, add to 36 touch. So the very last thing that I do is make sure that these people move into my 36 touch system, which is not hard to do. I just create a label or a tag in my CRM inside a command, and I just call it SOI. And I add them to the SOI. When I add them to the SOI, there's one additional step that I make, and Makai's gonna be showing you guys how to do this, and that is I apply a quarterly call plan to them that never ends. It just keeps recurring and recurring and recurring. My job as a real estate agent every day when I wake up and I turn on my computer and I go to my CRM is to do everything in the CRM that it's telling me I need to do today. And so those are all primarily going to be new phone calls. Yeah, my SOI phone calls are going to be in there. All right. So that's the last thing that I have on a sticky note inside of this black box system. So I don't want to move on until everybody understands how I work this black box system, because it can be a little bit confusing. God knows when I set this thing up at 28 years old, I was confused. Who's got questions? Yeah, let me bring a microphone over to you. Oh, it's right here. Will you bring that over to Brooke for me? Thanks. And I'm only keeping these questions for the recording because they're questions other people are going to have.
Do you run the 36 touch with the black box system?
No.
It's totally different. Okay.
Yeah. You're going to just run it through me because we're going to be doing it together,
Yeah.
right? And I'm going to explain how that works in a minute. So that's a really great question, but I never did run a 36 touch through that.
Through that. Okay.
Yeah. It'd be way too much stuff in there, you know? But you could, if you wanted to, you could say, hey, man, I got to send out my once a month newsletter, right? You put a little sticky there on Wednesday that says, you know, send out monthly newsletter to Sphere of Influence. Technically, you could do that, but I never did. Good question, though. Yeah, so the black box system is only for the 8x8 and also those personal written touches. So their birthday cards, the home anniversary, okay? Big life events like somebody's graduating with their degree, somebody's kid's graduating with their degree, or somebody's having a baby. Those were real common. Man, those go a long way too. When you're smart enough to go, oh, Zach's gonna have a baby. You're gonna, no, probably not. Yeah, I'll pick on Alex. Alex, you're gonna have a baby in, you know, June, right? And then I'll just make sure that I have a congratulations card set up before that. And more often than not, I'd send out that mail. And then the next week, I would probably just follow up with a phone call, you know? And people loved it. All right, Alex, you had a question.
Yeah, so for adding people to the database, let's say from an open house, and a lot of times people are reluctant to give out that address at an open house. Are you replacing a thank you card or something that requires an address with something else, or what are you doing instead?
Did you guys hear Alex's question in the back there? Because this is also a common one that we get, and that is, what happens if you meet somebody at an open house and they're reluctant to get information? I would say the first rule is come to our open house playbook class that we're going to be doing in April, because I'm going to teach you how to get all of that information at the open house easily, all right? But that is a common question. So what is it that I do? I simply follow up with value, right? So if I had a numbers that matter video, I could still send that out via text message, couldn't I? So an 8x8 does not have to include mail. An 8x8 could be 8 phone calls in 8 weeks. So you use this little thing here, and just put in 8 sticky notes. Call Alex Hoker. Call Alex Hoker. Call Alex Hoker. Yeah. Phone call, you can text video, right? And we're going to teach you guys how to do that. So great question. And ultimately, it's 2-step. One, I want you guys to get better at getting the information at the open house, and I'm going to teach you guys how to do that. But number 2, it can be 8 touches of 8 phone calls. As long as it's 8 touches in how many weeks, Alex? 8 weeks. Got it. Okay, real quick, Barbara, then we'll go to Jen.
Okay, so I understand this system of thank you. We get to the numbers that matter video because you're going to be providing that. Do we include branding in a text if we do it? The newsletter is going to also be provided by you. And then finally, we get to the phone call. At what point do we put our cards in with branding, et cetera? And then can you elaborate on the phone calls? Especially
Hey, Barbara, this is Josh over at Keller Williams. I just wanted to check and see if you got my last newsletter in the mail. Oh, okay, great. But you received it? Okay, great. I'm going to tell you, so Barbara is playing a little hard. She knows if she got it because she was the one that had to look at it before she put it in the garbage can, right? And so my very first call is just simply, actually, you know what? Go to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book between pages 133 and 148. The week 4 script and the week 8 script are in there. Guess what I use? Those antiquated scripts. Yeah, and it was exactly what I just said to Barbara. And you know what? People either say, yes, I got it, or no, I didn't. Great. Did you have any questions about the real estate market? Great. Look forward to staying in touch. Jen.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question I know the answer to, but I'm having a hard time accepting.
Roger. We call that being vulnerable.
There are 0 emails in the 8x8.
Correct. You know, it's honestly, Jen, it was boggling to me when I was putting this presentation together, just so I had this in a format that we had a flow for. In the book, and I should have just marked what page, but you can read it. It's pages 133 to 148. In there, it says, don't send email. And honestly, I don't know if that's what stuck in my head early on when I was running this system or not, but I did always tell you, anybody that's come to my class over the last 2 decades where I'm teaching this system, I've always said, emails don't count. People would be like, well, what about emails? And I'd always say, emails don't count. And everybody would say, well, what about emails? You guys all want to send emails. And it doesn't work. 100% of the time, it doesn't work. I just didn't do it. And honestly, it could have been, Jen, that I had this black box 8x8, and so all of this stuff, I call it analog, not digital. So it was all kind of like analog, and maybe that was the thing, you know, is I just got trained to think in analog. But again, when I was doing this, you guys, I was getting a 6-to-1 rate of return. I still believe you can get a 10-to-1 rate of return, but you got to do it like my clients do it.
So I think Brooke asked the question. I think one thing connecting here is that the black box program for the 8x8 and having a CRM for your 36 touch, we don't deserve the right to put them into that CRM until we've executed this. Is that right?
Yeah, that's fair, with one exception, Mike, and that is we do, like Barbara had asked and Andrea had asked as well, we do have people that have been kind of abandoned, you know, and they're sitting in our CRM right now. You know, and so a big thing for us is to make sure inside of the CRM that we're using, in particular in Command, again, Makai's got a recurring course on Command as it pertains specifically to our 36 touch system. So all these follow-up classes, I'll go through them in a minute so you know what's coming, right? But it's to ensure that you're actually doing it right within the CRM to make sure that when we do the content that you have the ability to deliver the touches that we're gonna all be doing together. Right? So yes, you have people that are in there. Make sure that they're tagged SOI. Just put them in, just put a tag on there as SOI. All right. Your goal also with the SOI is to make sure those people have name, address, phone number, email, right? NAPE, get that in your head. NAPE, everybody you meet, NAPE. Okay? Just get that. Get NAPE. If you don't have NAPE, you know how you get it? Call them and ask them. If you're too ashamed to call and ask after the apology script, which is so throwing yourself under the bus for being a loser, it's okay, because I've been a loser many, many times and I still won. But really, when you do the apology script, it's just what piece of information am I missing? You know, what event did we just have? Mantha.
Party with a purpose.
Party with a purpose. Hey, Marita, it's Josh over at Keller Williams. Listen, I am so sorry. I've been having a lot of people call me asking what's happening with the market, and I hadn't heard from you, and I realized that was my bad. I had just done this Party with a Purpose event last week, and I realized the invitation didn't make it out to you because I don't even have your home address. I'm so sorry, too. I promise to do better in the future. Our next event is going to be casino night. Where shall I send the invitation? Right on. Do you see how we do that? Do you see how easy that apology script is? Now, if I was missing your email, what would I say? The same damn thing, except I sent out an email. I realize you're not even on the list. My bad. I'm going to do better in the future. I get the email address. Do you see? That's how you complete it. So most important thing is to make sure inside of that sphere of influence that you have the tag SOI, because that's going to ensure all of these touches that we're all going to be doing together are going to get delivered to those people. In the meantime, if you're missing information from them, you'll know that. Get the information. We just had an event. Our next event that's coming up is Casino Night, followed by Red Day, followed by Picnic in the Park, followed by the golf tournament, followed by Pumpkin Patch. Dude, these guys are doing all of these events for you. How badass. And of course, we've got a few people that are doing a Death by Chocolate event, right? A few agents that have teamed together to do their own Death by Chocolate event. That's going to be hugely successful. This is the 26th year, 25th year. I know, Ann, you're coming in for that too. I mean, it's such an awesome thing. These are people that are putting together the event so you don't freaking have to. So then you can just call your people and invite them to an event and they feel like VIP and you don't feel like a salesperson, right? Win-win. Nowhere in here do they talk about acting like a salesperson. None of the quote-unquote scripts or conversations that convert that are in the book talk about being a salesperson. They talk about building real connections, something we have moved away from over the last decade, something that we'll move toward from this point moving forward, all right? Any other questions? It's okay to have questions about this black box system because I'm going to expect that you guys are all going to have this thing put together. All right? Any other questions? I can't believe it. That means you guys all understand exactly how this thing works.
Where can we get the stuff cheapest?
He's like, where can we get this stuff for cheap? I have all of the links. I would pull it up here, but I'm not using my computer. I have all of the links for everything that you need to put all of this together, and I'm going to send that out to you. It's through Amazon. I've already price shopped every single thing that's in there, right? Like I did the work for you, so I'm just going to send you the document. You click on the link. No, I'm not a sponsor. I don't get paid for this shit. I'm literally just doing it so you can buy it and set it up for yourself. It'll cost you, with the cards, it's going to cost you about $72. If you decide that you're smart enough to buy those wafer seals, it's going to cost you $77. All right? No, I know. We'll get there. We'll get there. That doesn't include postage. Okay, but I'm assuming that you guys truly do understand how that system works. All right, because that's going to be so important to establishing or cementing that relationship, right? It's about mind share. We've moved away from that as well because we think everything that we send out needs to be a direct offer for an immediate response. Okay? Yes, making an offer for immediate response is one type of marketing, but it is not marketing that we do to our HaveMet database. Marketing that we do to our HaveMet database is about being the local economist, not sending emails, all right? Not sending emails, and building real connections. Real connections. Lee, how big is your database now? It's about 250? 243, and then 243, and about how much GCI did that earn you last year? Gross GCI, about? I don't know. I can't count that high. Okay, it's a lot. She did a lot. Yeah. Consistently in the Realtor 500. Consistently, okay, in the Realtor 500. Legendary in her time. And she has 200 It is still her time. She's in this class. She's in this class. But seriously, 243 people, and she has a top 500 business. And she has 243 people. Blair, how many people do you think you have in your HaveMet database, for real? Even the ones that you abandoned a long time ago that we're going to reconnect with? About 200. All right. So if it's 150, that's 225,000. If it's 200, what's 200 times 15,000? Or 20 times 15,000, anybody? 300 and 300. Okay, $300,000 in your database right now. You don't even have to grow it, man. I mean, is that enough? Like you just hire somebody to help you kind of maintain and just do the thing, and then you can go and do all the good stuff that you do? Is that what we're looking for, right? This is going to be great. Jordy, how many people do you figure are in your HaveMet database, for real? Okay, 250. All right, good. So you can expect, let's see, 10-to-1 rate of return. That is 25 transactions. Somebody please break out the calculator. 25 times 15,000 is what? $375,000 sitting right now in Jordy's database. Now, we can grow that bigger. For those of you guys who want to have something that looked like the CERN team, go ahead and feed that system and keep doing it, right? You can make it as big as you want to make it. But would you be happy with just that amount of money every year with certainty? If you never even grew your database, would that be enough? You could do a lot of things with that kind of dough, right? Do you see? We don't need to complicate this shit. We don't need to go buy leads from Realtor.com, from Zillow.com, from Homes.com, from all the .coms. We can do this thing ourselves. We are our own .com. It's a database business.
Yeah, I had a question. When you're talking about forming am I using this right?
Yeah, you can't hear it up there, but
Okay. When you're talking about forming real connections with your database, and then you're talking about 2, 3, 400, or 4,000 people, like where are you in that realm between clients that you're friendly with and friends? Like how do you keep those relationships honest or authentic is good? Yeah.
Okay, so the question really is, if we have, is the idea that we have too many people that we can stay in touch with in our database, and so how do we, okay. Okay, so I didn't ever talk about being friends with my entire database, right? So what I did say is that we have 36 touches that are gonna happen. 4 of those are gonna be phone calls. That's it. Everybody's gonna get that no matter what, right? And those 4 phone calls might vary from person to person. If it's an allied resource, I'm gonna have a very different type of conversation with somebody that's referring multiple transactions to me every single year. But they're still getting the 36 touches. It never got blurry. In fact, the only thing that gets blurry is the people that want to separate or segregate their database into A's, B's, and C's. And those are the people that'll fail at the system. And so to make the system work, I treated everybody the same, but I did have some exceptions, all right? The exceptions were pretty simple. Inside of my database, I would add tags called referred, buyer, seller, and the year. Yeah, so if somebody referred me, I would add the tag referred, and I would add the year. Now, a lot of people that were in my database had referred on there, but they had many years. That means every year they're referring me multiple deals, right? And so at the end, yeah, the person that referred, right? And so at the end of every year, I would do a client appreciation party, a special one, invitation only. Rooftop, Harmons, remember that one? Fireside, band, everything catered. These were all the people that we had done business with that year that were invited, along with every person that referred us that year were invited to that private event. So I never separated my database, and I think that's kind of what you're getting at, is like, do I treat somebody differently in my database? Well, the 36 touch was still the 36 touch, but there might have been a different type of event that I did specifically for people that referred me business. Did I call them all? Yeah, I called them all until my database grew too big, and then I had to hire people to help call, and that's when my number, my ROI for my database started declining. And so if you have Clayton's problem where he has 3,000 people in his database, right? What did we talk about doing, Clayton? Whittling it down to what? 250, and you can already see if you just did 250, the numbers, the math on 250, it's massive, right? And so the tendency is we think too big. We think that I'm going to take all 3,000 people that I have name, address, phone number, email for, and I'm going to market to them, all of them, and I'm going to call all of them, but you're not. So you might want to whittle that down to the people that you are most likely going to stay in relationship with. Maybe they're your friends, maybe they're your past clients, but they're the people that you want to talk to. Quality, not quantity. It's about real connections. At the point that you cannot any longer create or maintain real connections with your database, it's time to hire. You're going to have to hire people to leverage out other things that you're doing. You will still get to a point, if you build something like the Stern team, where you're just simply unable to make that many contacts a day to be able to keep those relationships. So you'll figure out other things. Hey, when you get to that point, Barbara, let me know. All right, because I can relate to that problem. And it's not a real problem. So you can see here, you can't see here, but you can see here. What do I got to do? Pointing it there. Turn it off, turn it on. Reset. Hit enter. Let me just hit enter. We're broken. Yeah, let's go back. We got it, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so you can see this is the same thing I'm going to mail out to you. You can see the blue stuff on the side. It's got all the links that are there. I'm going to mail that out to you so you guys can just have that system all set up for yourself, all right? And that'll be important because as we do the Do It With You stuff, you'll be able to feed that black box system with your new additions to your database. And so if you don't have a database that's bringing in at least $225,000 a year, then the goal is going to be adding more people to your HAVMet database. And there are a lot of different ways that you can do that, all right? But once you add them to your HAVMet database, you have 8 touches that you're going to do in the next 8 weeks, and that's what the black box system is for. And the black box system, again, is for birthdays, anniversaries, and other big life events, so you don't forget them. You can put little reminders, in your black box. Even if those reminders just live on a sticky note, then put the sticky note where, it's going to, before the actual event happens, you've made a phone call to them or whatever it was that you're going to do. Maybe you sent flowers, whatever it is. So it's a super effective system that you can use for a lot of different things. And then finally, the 36 touch system, right? So once somebody has ran through our 8x8, and I'm not talking about your existing SOI, but I'm talking about new additions, right? From there on out, including your existing SOI, you're going to have 36 touches that you're going to make to them every single year for the rest of your life that you're in business or until you sell your business. Your business is the bigger your database, the bigger your income, the bigger the sales price is when you go to sell your business. Or there are people like Simon who still runs a 7th level business in Visalia who collects income from that business each and every year without actually having to operate the business. Does that sound okay? This is a fairly decent retirement plan, and it does deliver a decent amount of income. So the 36 touch is about communicating for life. It's about maintaining mind share. I heard a coach tell a client that direct mail doesn't work anymore. And that is so unfortunate because that coach who is coaching real estate agents in business has no idea what they're talking about. And the reason is because they haven't ran this system. They haven't built it through multiple different avenues. They haven't coached other people into doing the system, so they don't know what actually works. What that coach meant to say is that direct mail has a 2% rate of return. We're not in the direct mail business, guys. We are in the building a moat around our database and keeping our people in business. It's about building real connections, and it's about maintaining proper mind share. That's all it is. It's mind share and creating real connections. So here's a pro tip. Number 1, inside of your command, KW command, you're going to have everybody in your SOI have the tag SOI. And everybody that goes through an 8x8 and then goes into your command from there on out is going to have a tag called, thank you. Pro tip number 2, once you've applied the SOI tag to these people, and don't worry, Makai will show you how to do this. you're going to apply the quarterly call plan from the Smart Plan library to ensure that you never miss a phone call when you're supposed to make it. That's not hard to do. You have a whole year's worth of events that you're doing. And that doesn't even bring up the fact that you have what goes out in the mail to all the homeowners in July in Salt Lake County or in Utah, really. Tax assess. What's one of the values that you provide to your VIP list? Protesting the taxes, right? And so what a great opportunity to start getting ahead in June and making phone calls to everybody that's in your database to let them know that they're going to receive that tax notice. And if they feel it comes in high, that they're to send you a copy of that tax notice so you can help see if you can dispute those taxes, right? Easy thing to do. Then pro tip number 3. Oh, wait. Pro tip number 2, going back to this, for those of you guys who have Blair's number of SOI people, 250, you don't want to try to make 250, you don't want to go and apply a quarterly call plan to all 250 people on the same damn day, because every 90 days, guess what's going to show up in your dashboard? 250 calls. You ain't going to do that. And so something else that Mikhail is going to show you how to do is how to stagger the start dates of your quarterly calls when you apply that. So a really simple rule is you have 60 working days in a quarter. Your 36 touch will include 4 phone calls, quarterly calls. If you have to make a call every quarter, you have 60 days to get through 250, just take 250 and divide that by 6. What do you get? What's that? Yeah, just over 4, right? And so what am I going to do? I start at the top of my SOI list, right? And I pick the first 4 or 5, and I start those calls tomorrow. Then the next 5, I'll stagger to start 2 days from today, and the next 5, and so on and so forth until I get through all 250. It's not hard to do. Mikhail, are you going to teach them how to do that?
Today's class, but yes, we are going to teach that in Friday's class. That's the command class.
Yeah, command class Friday. We're going to teach you how to stagger these SOI calls so you don't have to worry about a big data dump happening every 90 days, because I promise if that happened, you're not going to do it.
If you have a married couple, do you make contact with each one or just one of them?
You are so smart.
Or desperate?
It's such a good question. You know, so like, listen, I had been running this system for probably 15 years, and I'm sitting in Gary Keller's mastermind, right? His top 100 agents, and I'm sitting in the mastermind, and he's like, you know, talking about doubling your database, trying to get these big team databases to be up to 10,000 as quickly as possible. And he just asked this question, and it turned the light bulb on. He's like, how many of y'all are calling the spouses? I'm like, damn. Because usually when you're in a relationship with a couple and you've done business with them, you're usually contacting one of them, right? Man, what a great way to get a database without having to actually double your database. You know, the spouse usually knows different people. Did you know that? Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, but I mean, we'll save that for another time. The idea is that if you've worked with somebody and you do have a husband, wife, or a spouse couple or whatever it is that's there, the idea is if you make one call, guess who the next call is going to be? Yeah, there's 2 touches that you have. Now, that is going to be what causes you to get a better than 10 miles rate of return, right? I mean, it's such a great thought on that, because for 15 years, running this system by the book, Keller Williams International knows me as the MREA book boy, right? Because I did everything exactly to the book, and it worked, right? The model works. And I didn't get that until 15 years later when Gary's like, how many of y'all calling a spouse? I'm like, this seems so obvious. Yeah. And that's when I opened up my next coaching company called Do Better. Try harder. All right, so 36 plus touches. So here's the idea with that 36 touch maintenance system. It's going to be happening forever, right? You will have at minimum 36 touches. It's okay if you want to have 70 or 40, but you're not going to have less than 36. And I'm committed to doing 36 touches with you this year, no matter what. All right. And those 36 touches, by the way, don't even include the 4 phone calls that you're going to make. So you're already at 40 touches. If you run this system with me, you're already at 40 touches. Okay. That's all you need. You just need to know 36 touches a year, every year for the rest of your life. And how many emails, Amir?
0.
0 emails. Right. So 12 touches are going to be our Market Watch newsletter. I'm going to create that stuff for you. And every one of you guys is going to want to modify this and put your own stuff in there and create your own fancy ass newsletter. Because what you put in there is so vastly important to you. To you. Okay, the truth of the matter is I've had countless real estate clients in my classes on 8x8 and 36 touch because I made the business look so easy. They decided they would get in the business, right? And I would simply ask them, Lonnie, when you received my touches in the mail, what did you do with them? Did you read them? She's like, of course I didn't read them. I'm like, what'd you do? And she said, they go from here into there. I'm like, perfect. That's my point. Stop overthinking what it is. If it's got your brand on it and it's blank and you send it out, you're all good, man. And that way, no, I mean, seriously, will you run the microphone down to Clayton for me? Thank you. That way, when you call them up and you ask them if they have any questions about the stuff you've been sending, they say, yeah, why do you keep sending me blank shit? No, I do that intentionally. I just want to make sure it's a clean slate so you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. It does not matter what you put in a newsletter. So I'm committed to doing the newsletter with you. I will make it quality. I promise you. It's going to have local information. You'll be able to write your own little paragraph about how the kids are doing or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're going to send it out. But you're not going to send it out via email, you guys. Right. That's not what this class is for. We're going to actually create the newsletter. We have a company, ITI Direct Mail, that can send it out. So if you have a database like Blair's size, 200 people, you might not want to print out 250 of these things, fold them in half, label them, stamp them, and put those 2 little wafer seals on it. You might not want to. That's fine. Send it to ITI Direct with the CSV because the format that I used for the newsletter is a format that's going to be accepted by all of the major mailing houses. All you would do is give them the newsletter, which we create for you, brand on it. Hey. Just send them an email with that and a CSV of your SOI, which in our command class, Nakai will be teaching you how to do. So cool, because we're going to actually do this with you every single time. We're going to do it with you. Clayton, you had a question?
I just wanted to re-emphasize this point that you're trying to make, because I know for a fact that there are dozens of people in this room right now that are going to get hung up on this issue of what to send. And having run your actual system for many years, I can tell everyone in this room that it really does not matter what you send.
How many different things did we decide to try to send to make sending better?
The things that you sent, especially in the early days, was like, they were not impressive.
No, they were embarrassing.
They were not impressive. I mean, I think over time, maybe they got better. But the point is, you were sending it consistently,
and nobody else was.
That was literally the only difference. It doesn't matter what you send.
Okay, by a raise of hands in here, be honest with me. How many people are actually sending mail right now consistently? Yes. That's amazing. I mean, that is something I didn't actually expect. So you're already doing what most real estate agents aren't doing. I mean, how many newsletters do you guys get from real estate agents? Oh, weird. How many do you think your clients are getting? None. Do you see the opportunity? It never went away. The opportunity has always been the same. What Clayton is saying is because he's worked with me since 2008. He has seen all of the worst shit that I've sent by mail, and it all worked. And some of it's very embarrassing. Some of it is because I had a client that saved one, and when he was moving into Park City, which he used me for that sale, he gave me a copy of what I had sent him in the early days. I had hair. I was wearing a tie, and I was clean shaven. That's awesome. But all the rest of it was embarrassing. I was just like, oh my God. He's like, I know. I figured you'd get a good laugh out of that. Cool thing is, it worked because the brand was there. So that's it. We're going to do it with you on the newsletter. And then we've got 24 touches that are going to be the numbers that matter. NCM for short, numbers that matter. All right. That's where we're actually, where am I getting this from? That's weird. I can hear it through the speakers. Okay. Well, maybe it was somebody at home. Anyway, 2 of these texts are going to be numbers that matter. Numbers that matter are going to be very short videos. I'm going to create the script for you. We have a content creation room. You're going to go in there, you're going to use the teleprompter, and you're going to just read from the script, all right? The numbers that matter is very short, very simple. Here might be an example of a numbers that matter. Today's number is 19. Hey, Mike, or I'd say, hey, it's Joshua Stern, Keller Williams, bringing you another Numbers That Matter video. Today's number is the number 19. Zillow just released their survey of home sellers, and they found that 19% of all home owners plan on selling their home within the next 3 years. And did you know that 47% of those people decided that they're going to sell their home this year? I thought that was pretty interesting, given the fact that we've had these high rates, we still have sellers who are aching to sell. That number is up 3% year over year, by the way. That's it. You see what I'm saying? How hard is that? Now, that is going to go and live in a YouTube channel, a private YouTube channel. And the coolest thing is our staff is going to teach you how to build out that private YouTube channel, which doesn't take long. They're going to teach you how to do basic edits. And here's a good tip for you. Pro tip, smile. And then start talking, because the JPEG that you're going to save, the little thumbnail inside of the video, is going to be of your face. So if you want it looking like this, you know, or you can just smile, and then you just learn how to trim the video up to the point where you start talking, okay? But they're going to show you how to house those videos in YouTube. They're going to show you how to create the JPEGs. And then we're going to actually show you how in Command you connect Command to Twilio to where you can now text that out to your people for a penny, for 1 penny, and it'll have your image on there, and they click on that, and it brings them to the Numbers That Matter video, right? Super simple, super easy, and guess what? It works. Why? Because all my clients are doing it, and they all run the biggest teams in their metropolitan area. You guys, this just works, and I'm going to do it with you this year, and the whole staff is going to do it with you to make sure all of this shit goes out so you can start getting at least a 10-to-1 rate of return, unless you're like Andrea, and you're going to call the spouse, and then you're probably going to get a better than 10-to-1 rate of return, all right? 4 of those touches you can see on that 36-plus touch plan should be phone calls. And then we have the events, all right? And then it'd be anything else. You know, one of the things that my clients really liked that I did is at the end of the year, I would write a year-end letter. Here's what I'm up to. Here's what's going on. And it was all personal. None of it was sales. I have a friend, Mitch Rathman. And just a few weeks ago, I was connecting with him. And he said to me, you know that letter that you sent to me back in, I don't remember what year it was. He's like, I can't tell you how impactful that was for me at that time in my life. And I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? What letter is he talking about? And I was really curious what he was talking about. And so I went back and I was like, oh, year-end letters. I went back to the year because I saved them. I went back to the year and I reread it and I saw, oh, I knew what was happening in his life and why it had such an impact on him. So at the end of every single year, I would write a year-end letter. Here's something else I did with a year-end letter. I put a year-at-a-glance fridge magnet calendar, and I would send those 2 things together. Now, in my 8x8, I would always include a magnet as one of the things that I'd send. I'm not telling you guys not to do that. I didn't tell you to do it because I realized the cost might be prohibitive for some of you guys, but that was always part of my 8x8 touch. Has anybody in this room gone and listed one of my past sphere of influence house? Excellent. So the question, there's 4 people in here that's raised their hand. I suck, don't I? I had to do better. Jordan, you're not even on my, never were a part of my team, but where was the magnet?
On the fridge.
How many of them were there?
There was 1. She had thrown the other ones away and replaced the new ones.
Isn't that something? Yeah, those magnets, man, I'd go into the house, you know, and I'd see they'd have 5 of these, you know, past calendars on. I've talked to other agents that have listed my past sphere of influences, you know, property where they're like, yeah, man, it was crazy. They had like 7, you know, of your magnets on their fridge. For whatever reason, when the magnet goes on the fridge, they never come off until they're going to move, you know, which is really, truly interesting. So you've got some additional touch points, and that's what I was just talking about here, if you can hold the question for a moment. And that is the year-at-a-glance calendar, the year-end letter, I talked about that. The birthday cards and anniversary cards. You want to make real connection with your database? That is the easiest damn thing in the world that you can do. Home anniversary, birthdays. You got the system, the black box system to do it. You can buy the things, preload it, you're set up. Once you're running this thing, it is so easy to maintain. The only problem that you're going to have is going to be a good problem, and that's when you grow out of one box into two, and two into three, and so on and so forth. And all I can say is I cannot wait for you guys to have that problem. You could do one touch. So one of the great ideas that Lee had years ago was to send a personalized gratitude video to your past clients and those people that referred you. So we go to our database and we go to the tags, SOI referred 2024. And everybody that's in there, we send out a gratitude video. Very simple, and it's personal too. It's like, hey, Zach, it's Josh. You know, this time of year, I have a lot of things to be grateful and thankful for. And honestly, your name came to mind. I just wanted to say thank you so much for referring Jeanette to me for her real estate needs. It was a pleasure working with her. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good holiday season. Look forward to catching up with you next year. Boom, send, repeat, do it again. All my coaching clients do this now. Right? These are big teams, right? They do it. And guess who gets their gratitude video every single year? I do. They send me a gratitude video. I love it, man. It's awesome. And they always send me the comments, the screen capture of the comments that they get from their sphere of influence when they send out something as simple as a gratitude video, right? It's very impactful. Something else that's super impactful is what Lee does every single year, and that is she does a fudge pop by. Now, there's a lot of different pop-bys that you can do throughout the year. Makai, will you get the microphone to Jordan, please? Thank you. There's a lot of different pop-bys that you can do, but the one that Lee has chosen to do is she makes about 100 pounds of fudge a year. That's no lie. Maybe more than that. And then she puts them in these little individual containers. And then she takes her entire database and she breaks it up by area. And she goes and drops off fudge, homemade fudge, which she's been making since I was a kid. I can't stand the smell of it. But you know what? It takes her, 6 weeks to be able to deliver all that fudge, doesn't it? About 6 weeks. Okay, 4 weeks to deliver all that fudge. You know, and she doesn't just drop it on the doorstep, ring the doorbell, and run. You know, she's looking to make a real connection. And so she waits for them to answer the door. And some of her clients will have her into the house, and they'll talk to her for an hour, right? This is why it takes her a long time. But every single year, she can track business that comes from something as simple as dropping off fudge one time. That's a real connection with the database. Jordy?
You do the year-end referred client appreciation party.
Yeah.
Do you do anything else for them? Someone refers you something in February. What are you doing? Rather than like, hey, stay tuned till the end of the year. Appreciate you.
Okay, so if we go back to one of those slides that I showed early on in the presentation, it talked about asking, you know, just the connection that we make with our database, ask, educate, and reward. So the reward part is about having a system in place for when somebody refers you. I can tell you what that looked like early on because Lee had me going and delivering movie tickets, a chocolate candy bar, and balloons to the office of the person that referred. And this is when people used to work in offices, if you remember that. To the office of the person that referred me. And I would, whether they were there or not, I would put it on their desk. And it had movie tickets, chocolate bar, and balloons. Thank you for referring Blair. Oh. Something more clever. Yeah. Yeah, but you could have, you know, honestly, you could have a cadre of Amazon cards or Beans and Brews cards or, you know, Crumble cookie cards. Brooke would appreciate that. Yeah. You know, and every time somebody refers you, you just write a handwritten thank you. Remember, you're not rewarding the end result of a referral. You're rewarding the behavior of those who are referring you, right? And so you're saying, hey, thanks very much for referring Blair over to me. I promise to make you look good. I'll keep you apprised of how everything goes. But in the meantime, enjoy a cookie on me. Could be something as simple as that, all right? Makai, when Lee's talking, will you do me a favor and just try to get her on microphone? She has good ideas, and the people at home can't hear them.
You just cut me off. No, always thank in public, never thank in private. Always put a balloon because now people think they're celebrating something. And so when they ask them, it's no, my realtor sent me movie tickets, and it becomes a real estate conversation.
Okay, so let's move on here. Thank you very much, Lee. You've been doing such a great job of exemplifying what it means to stay in touch and build a moat around your database. So the very first Wednesday of each month, we're going to have a class that Numbers That Matter video. I will have the video done of me actually doing the video, and I will have the script, all right? And you guys will have the staff here to help you set up the content room with the teleprompter so you can go in and record the same thing and then house that on YouTube. These guys are going to teach you how to create the YouTube channel. It's going to be one of the do-it-for-you classes, okay? So the first Wednesday of every single month this year, I want to make sure that you plan on being here, because that's when I'm going to deliver this content to you, and that's when the staff's going to help you get it sent out to your people, all right? Now, there's going to be 2 Numbers That Matter videos that are going to be done at the same time, right? You're not going to send them both out the same day. You're going to send one out immediately, and then you'll send one out in 2 weeks. That's simple, right? And then on the last day of each month, I'm going to create a newsletter. The staff is going to put it in a personalized brand for you. They're going to teach you how to create your own QR code for your command app so people can scan it and you can track if they're looking at homes or whatever they're doing. You'll be able to see all of that stuff. They're going to help you personalize it. They're going to help you print it out. They're going to help you either send it to the ITI direct mail if that's what you want, or they're going to help you print it out here. They're going to teach you how to export your database into a CSV. They're going to teach you how to create mailing labels, so like Lee and Allie and Cami are doing, they're labeling their own sendouts, right? So they're going to actually teach you how to create the labels, how to do an export, so you can do this very simply. Lee, you can now do this, right? Okay, Lee has learned how to do this herself. That's right. There are no more excuses. All right. Okay, and then the quarterly events, you can see, we're going to have those happening throughout the year. Our staff, our events committee rather, has done a remarkable job getting way ahead of this. So we have dates already. So every single time we call our sphere of influence, it can be coming from a place of contribution. It'll be an easy way for us to maintain contact and build a moat around the database and have real connections with our people. So that's what that's going to look like, all right? There's your math. There's your math. 10 to 1, all right? If you have 100 people sitting in your sphere of influence, oh yeah, thank you. If you have 100 people sitting in your sphere of influence, I knew I'd mess this up, and of course this is stuck again. Yeah, I guess. Oh, there we go. So 10 to 1 rate of return. If you have 100 people, it's $150,000 a year, every single year for the rest of your real estate career, just using this system. I promise that's what works, all right? If you have 150 people, that's 225,000. If you have 200 people, that's 300,000. All right, do the math from there, okay? The thing that you have to understand is that you can bank on that working. It doesn't even care what the market's doing. Your database is market proof. No matter what happens, you have a 10 to 1 rate of return. So let's just plan on doing this together for the rest of the year. The staff from both market centers are going to be doing this with us to ensure that there's no freaking way you can't get your contacts out and make them impactful, all right? I'm going to create the content for you. You can send it out. It's going to be good content. Nobody's going to read it, but it'll be good, all right? So then your focus from that point forward, if your goal is $500,000, do the math, figure out how big do I need to get my database to get $500,000 a year, right? And start focusing on what are going to be my lead generation methods to the have not met, to turn them into a have met, to run them through that black box system, to put them into the 36 touch where they're going to stay forever. Rinse and repeat. So does it feel a little different this time? For those of you who have been through my class before, does it feel like it's going to be a little bit different for you this time? Not yet, because I'm going to do this shit with you, so there is no me leaving. All right, so here are some of the what's coming up here. If you look at the location, I'm doing this for both the market centers, and we're treating this as one market center, all right? The staff is working in conjunction. Sometimes we're going to have Utah Realtor staff over here teaching like YouTube. Isaiah's an expert at that. Sometimes we're going to have Makai, even over in Utah Realtors, teaching Canva or Command, okay? So bottom line is we're going to do all of this stuff with you to ensure that there's absolutely no reason that you can't get get it done. So on the 12th, that's today. In just a moment, Makai's going to go through basic Canva. Thank you for that. Basic Canva. And then on the 14th, which is this Friday, and you're going to notice a common theme here. It's Wednesdays and Fridays. You're also going to notice a common theme. Primarily, we're going to focus on doing these at lunchtime. So bring your damn computer and bring a lunch and get to work. Easy. Really, really easy. Okay, on the 26th, I'm going to be doing this exact same class for anybody who's missed it, or if somebody wants to come and see me do this again over at Keller Williams Utah Realtors. A very long 3.5-mile drive from here, from 12 to 1:30, same time, all right? And then on the 28th, it's going to be YouTube basics, right? So it's just going to be understanding what it is that we need to get set up to be able to get those numbers that matter videos created. On the 5th, that's the first Wednesday of March, I'm going to be doing 2 numbers that matters with you and the staff to make sure that this stuff goes out. On the 5th, let's see, the how-to content room, all right, basic editing and how to get the content room set up so you guys can just go in there one after another and film the content. All right, it'll be super easy because you're just going to be reading it from a teleprompter. And all of you guys are going to be, who haven't done video before are going to be a little nervous about doing it. And you know what? That's human. Be nervous. It's okay. Your clients expect you to be a human being. On the 7th, we're going to be sending out the numbers that matter through Command and through connecting Command with Twilio. All right. And then on the first Wednesday of each month from there on out, numbers that matter. On the last Wednesday of each month, it's going to be the Market Watch newsletter. So every single month, we're going to have this whole thing dialed and styled. All we need you to do is show up. Because I can't physically do it for you, but we have an enormous amount of manpower here to do it with you. And that's the difference between me teaching the class this time around and you guys actually doing it. Because I'm going to be here and all of the staff is going to be here to make sure it gets done. How does that sound? Okay, so I'm going to turn this over to Makai, and Makai is going right into Canva. Remember, this coming Wednesday, this coming Friday, we have the command for SOI. So make sure that you're going to be here, bring your computer. If you see a UR on there, that means that's the Utah Realtor location. That's our Fort Union branch, which is basically the corner of 1300 South and Fort Union Boulevard. All right? 3rd floor, you're welcome to come to those anytime you want. If you miss something, we're going to have the recordings also. So if you're committed to doing it, great. This is not on Zoom for people to just watch behind their computer screens, but there are going to be people like Blair who have a lot of kids that do soccer, and he's basically gone 10 weekends out of the next 9. Is that true? So he might miss one, and if he misses one, we have the recording for it, so no matter what, we got your back on this. Does that make sense? The recording? Oh, like the recording of this, I mean, within the same day. Yeah, we'll have it uploaded into the library. At team meeting, we talked about sending these out. They'll be sent out, all of these links will be sent out once a week. All right? No, the slides aren't a part of it, but like the materials to buy and how I do the 8x8 and the 36 touch along with all those orphan scripts, I'm going to be sending that out to you. Yeah. All right. Without further ado, we're going to turn it over to Canva Makai.
Awesome. So just a quick little tech setup moment. So that's going to take me about 3 minutes. But yeah, stick around if you guys are not comfortable with Canva, because this will be a Canva tutorial focusing on thumbnails. So just a moment here.